Okay. We we got caught up in this quote. Um, well, with Camila, we're just thinking that this quote is actually quite relevant. Even though we just found it in a website, it really sums up what we were discussing after we read the story, because it is true that life is short and we do not know when our time will come, and and in this book we can also like, it makes us think about the things that we love the most. I mean, the main character in this story, when he was at death's door, he imagined his journey uh, towards his family. He was going to the place he loves the most, and I think it's important that we always have that in mind. I mean, that we always keep those who we love close. And I think it's very important nowadays that we start thinking of, I mean, not start thinking about it, but maybe taking it more seriously. Um, because, I mean, I think that we often do not want to think about death, but we know that it's something in the back of our minds. Death is always like a shadow that looms over us, and it's always there, but we do not acknowledge it. We don't think about it until it's too late, maybe until it's already here. So it makes us it made us think, this book. It made us go into a very dark path.
Yeah, because we also were talking about that maybe in this story there is this kind of way of saying that maybe we take for granted life, because here Peyton tried to sabotage the Union Army, but he instead got sentenced to death by hanging. And he maybe he maybe he was thinking about his family, but he anyway acted upon a cause that maybe he didn't think about that the consequences, and the consequences were leaving his family fatherless. And maybe he thought that he could have a long life with his family, but then death was just there. So maybe sometimes we take for granted life and the loved ones that we have. So maybe sometimes we forget about them, and I don't know, maybe we should take into account more about living our life with the loved ones, with our loved ones, more than acting for greater causes.
Yes.
Hmm.
Then we found yes, Camila.
Yeah,
um
I'm sorry. Go
no,
ahead.
go ahead. No, go ahead.
Well, well, we know that Farquhar is dead, but we also know that he imagined an escape. So that means that the narrator keeps that list that I'm sorry, that last bit of important information from us till the end. So we wonder if does this make the narrator more mysterious or unreliable? We want to know, what do you think about that?
For you, the audience.
Well, if you want to add a comment, or what are your perceptions about this
Uh,
story?
Me, um,
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I think that the purpose of the narrator being um, saving this information up until the end is that this revelation or this like plot twist was more had a bigger impact in the readers because all the time you think that the character is alive and is doing things, but then you suddenly realize that he is dead. So I think that what he was trying to do was um, to convey the feeling of how abrupt and sudden death can be for us, for common people. I think maybe that's my perception of the way in which the narrator or the writer, the author here, uh, wanted to show or write the plot in this way, because he could have just talk about this man's life, and then just talk about how he died and why he died and about his wife. But instead, he used this um, type of narration in which it starts at the middle, as you said, and then you go back and forth with revealing information, so that makes everything more interesting. That's my opinion, at least.
Yeah, thank you.
To
Yeah, we
Rocio.
think the same. I think it allows us to engage more with the story, to keep reading.
Yeah, I think it keeps us more interested in the story. It's you want to keep reading because you want to know what's going to happen, what's going on. So, does anybody else want to say something?
Me.
Go ahead, Javiera.
I think it is more mysterious than unreliable because at the end it is telling you the whole story, but like in different stages of the story. So it wouldn't be unreliable. I think if a narrator can be unreliable, he's keeping you information and he won't tell you that information, but he's just being mysterious. Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Maybe a way of saying, I mean, maybe some people could find it unreliable because maybe at the end of the story it makes you to question, well, what happened really? Was did he really died, or are you tricking me again? Maybe in that sense it could be unreliable, but I think I agree with both of you because I think it's more interesting, and it tells you right away that I mean, maybe the title itself is telling you that something happened, so he indeed died.
Yeah, I rather think that he's trying to be mysterious rather than unreliable. I want to think that the narrator was keeping us on edge, and in order to make things more interesting. And I think, yeah.
Diana?
Yes.
Do you think he eventually beats death by his, dreaming that he's going home to his wife and family? Do you think that he's actually beating his hanging or the consequences of his action? Or actually it's just an act of cowardice? He's just, again, or not again, but being a coward because he's not facing the consequence of his acts, and he's not actually facing hanging in a men-like behavior. I don't know how to put it, but what do you think? Is he being brave or a coward?
I think he's not being a coward because I mean I think he's trying to make the most of the little time he has left because I think that his mind went to his safe place in order to affront, maybe no, confront, yes, in order to confront that the way he felt more safe. That's why he imagined in those seconds that he was falling, he imagined going to his home, and he imagined grasping her wife, his wife. Maybe he just took them, he knew that he was doing something wrong. He had done something wrong, and he was that his action had consequences. I think he deep down knew. And the way, and when he went to his family in his last moment, it was a way to say goodbye, and maybe make himself feel more, maybe more brave. Maybe he was, because I remember in the book that he said that his family was still safe from the army. So I think his last thoughts were of his family, because he wanted them to feel safe, that he was taking the bullet, in sort of speaking, because he was receiving the punishment from his actions, and he knew that his family was safe. So that's why I think that's what I think happened in those moments.
And Camila, the question about the discussion question was about the narrator or the author, right? Being unreliable or mysterious.
Mm-hmm.
The way of saying unreliable is like, I recall a feeling of being cheated by the narrator. At some point, the author or the narrator takes you by the hand, and then he lets you go.
Mm-hmm.
So was that feeling of, or this concept of being unreliable in terms of what the narrator is not chronologically ordering, but it's like he is cheating with the emotions or the credibility that he has with the reader, because that's how I understand you put it, the concepts of mysterious versus unreliable. Is that the direction you were going?
Yeah, I think, yeah, you explain it quite clear. Yeah, I think that could be a way of perceiving what could make the narrator or author unreliable, because the way that this short story is written, it taking us back in the past and then back to the present, is maybe for some readers can be difficult to I don't know, to be aware of where the real the indeed reality that Peyton had was. I don't know if I am making myself clear.
Yes. In this the portrayal of a parallel universe,
Mm-hmm.
sorry, that we actually don't know which reality is the objective and which one might be or at least the more objective, and
Mm-hmm.
which one should be the subjective one, and which we should discard, and which one we should consider to be the actual reality. It's like a game that forces readers to follow the path that the narrator is leading, but at some point, when you're stepping on a ground that doesn't seem so safe, you're like, at least in my first time, the first time I read this story, I was like going back and retracing my steps, trying to find out where should I have found out that the narrator was actually cheating me as a reader. which was the key fact that should have told me, or should have informed me that the story was going in a different direction, not the direction that I thought it was going. So,
Yeah.
Do you think these are, for your reading taste, do you like this type of story, that stories that have a very, final twist that leads you to a different direction?
Well, personally, I really like this one, this story, because of two reasons. Because of the plot twist, and because that I think that this story take us to kind of psychological journey, because when Peyton was thinking about his wife and children, and well, he supposedly escaped, and he's seeing his wife, that is like a dream inside of another dream, because first he thought that he had escaped, and then he is seeing another scene, because that is the way that it is describing the story. It's like he's in a certain scene, and then it says that he is now seeing another scene. So I think he had a dream inside of another dream, and I think that is a psychological journey that we have, and then we can talk a lot about that. And the plot twist, I think, is interesting to end that to end a story, and that it's not what you think about the end was going to be.
Yes, totally. And structurally, it's interesting to keep this story as an example of remember that at some point you are writing, or you will write a short story or a poem, and it would be interesting to keep this story as an example of the type of imagery, not just visual, but also auditory images used to describe the feelings, right? And also the type of writing technique that is used and also the twists that you take the reader into one safe place, and then you let the reader go. So this story could give everyone in the room a good example for the literary work that you are working, or at some point you will start working, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a very, very interesting game that you play with the reader as the author. Does anyone have a question for these ladies, or a comment? If not, we're going to finish the session, because it's 1 o'clock already.
I really enjoyed the fun facts.
Thank you. I recommend you to watch the episode of Black Mirror. It's super good. Really, really good.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorites.
I'll take a look at that Black Mirror myself.
Yes, you should.
Yes, it's really
I
good.
highly recommend it.
Thank you. All right, ladies, thank you very much for your presentation or book report. I'll see you on Wednesday, everyone. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Sir?
Professor?
Yes, ma'am?
I have a question, because we have to present about modernism, I think, this week.
Okay. Is that a question or a statement?
No, it is a question, but we don't know the order of the presentations.
Right. I don't know the order either. So if you have any suggestions, I'm open to suggestions. If not, I'm going to decide on that individually.
Or maybe we should discuss it with our classmates and get to an agreement.
Sure, I'm open to that. So that's the first option. If you don't get to an agreement, because
You decide.
yeah, exactly.
Okay. Professor, also, you said that the 3 and 4 forum were for the 30th of June, but they are already closed. So I don't know if you could open them.
Yes, I thought I had. I thought I had. Let me double check. But I thought I already had changed the date. I wanted to see that.
A classmate put a picture on a WhatsApp group that said that it was closed. It said open until the 21st of June.
Yeah, she saw that last night, I think.
Okay, so because because let me what I'm seeing now, it says 28 de junio. So that's
Really? Okay, so we can check again, I guess.
I'll go to, yeah, I am in the LMS now, and I'm going to see what I did wrong, because I get a message at the bottom of all the questions about every single naturalistic book. It says disponible hasta el 28 de junio del 2020, 23:55. And then I need to find out what I did wrong I'll go and see, and I'm going to edit it to find out what's wrong with this. Okay,
Professor?
yes, ma'am.
Forum number 4 is open, but number 3 it's closed.
Gotcha. All right.
Yes.
Okay. So much for my listening comprehension, right? Okay, so number 3. Okay, now I'm in number 3, and I'm editing. Gosh. Okay, so yeah, I found the, okay, I know what I did wrong. It was restricciones de acceso. There was this restriction that I didn't change. So June 28th. So check again and let me know if for number 3 is open again. And if not,
Okay.
have to.
Now
Yeah, it is open.
It is open?
Yes, now it's
Thank you
open.
so.
Yes.
Thank you so much. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you,
ladies.
Professor.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'll see you on Wednesday. All right.
See you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Bye,
Yes,
teacher.
thank
See
you,
you.
Thank you,
Professor.
Professor. Take care.
Thank you. Bye bye.
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 Bye everyone.